Peace everyone, Unmasked here. For this video I thought I'd do a little inking tutorial. I use a 2 point, or a 0.20, 0.25, 0.35, 0.45, and a 0.5. For now I'm going to outline it with the 0.20 and go from there. Okay, now that the initial penning is finished, you just give it a minute for the ink to be completely dry, because if you try to erase it, it will smudge, and there's no fixing that. Okay, now that all the erasing is done, you just want to go back, and in this case I'm still using the 0.20 millimeter, go back and find any of the details that you might have missed. Sometimes it can get pretty lost with all the graphite. Alright, now that that part is all complete, I most likely won't use the 0.2 millimeter anymore. And on this particular drawing, I'm going for more of a cartoon feel, so I'll do a few things different than what I would normally do. In this case, I'm going to use a bolder line on the outside of the drawing itself, because the bolder line will not only make it stand out more, but it will also give it more of a cartoon feel, because cartoons generally have much thicker lines and less detail. This still has quite a bit of detail in it, which is just my particular style, because I like detail. So in this case, I'm going to use the 0.5, and believe it or not, I don't really use this one much, because for the most part, I don't pen in this style. But since I'm going for the cartoon, I'm going to use the nice thick 0.5 to outline just the outside. So for instance, this area here is behind them, so I'll pen this in here. And what you're trying to do, you don't want to go in the middle of the line, you want to go on the outside. So you're not losing any of the space of the interior. The key to this is to make the lines smooth. So you want, where you want sharp edges, you maintain that sharp edge, and where you want smooth contours, you kind of feather out the jagged edges that you would otherwise have. Alright, now that that bold line is done, you can see that he clearly stands much more off the page than he did without it. I'm going to switch to the 0.25 now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the face a little bit. And the key to this is to keep the lines from just being flat. That's the best way I can explain it. I'm going to start with the eyes, and you'll understand what I mean. But another thing that I want to do is I want to bring out the features a little bit. So just how we added the line on the outside of him to bring him forward, his nose sticks out. So so what you want to do is you want to draw on the opposite side of what sticks out to bring it forward. So in this case, underneath the nose, we'll push that forward by adding a thicker line on the bottom. And we don't want to make it all the same width. We want to vary it based on how far we want to bring it forward. So the tip of his nose will be forward a little bit further than the inside of his nostril. So we want to add more thickness there than we do right there. Now, here we'll add a little bit of thick line so that it looks like that. And so that's the idea of an artistic line, where it is thick and then thin and then thick again, and that is what creates the depth. And you want to make it as smooth as possible. And then a little bit here, just so it's not all thin. And that, look how much more his nose is brought out of the paper. I also want to add a little bit back here just to smooth it out. Not a lot though. Yep, just like that. And then here where the contours change in his nose, I don't like this sharp point. We don't have sharp points on our face, so you just want to move that point back just a little bit and round it off, and it will make the world of a difference if you can do it. There. So that makes the contours there a little bit softer, which is what you'd see in a face. Now, I don't want to add a thickness to his forehead wrinkles here, because I think he's a young gnome, so I don't want to deepen his wrinkles. But I will bring out his eyebrows a little bit by thickening the bottom part of it. And this will raise his eyebrows off his head a little bit, make him look thick, because he's got thick hair. Like that. And then the rest of the creases I want to keep the way they are, just subtle. Add a little bit here. And then next we'll do this ear over here. This is actually an ear here, so let's thicken that up so that we can actually see it. And I'll actually do this whole side of his face so that it lifts out of his hair. And his nose, his ear a little bit too. We'll just add a little bit there. And then here, just add a little bit of extra thickness. And you can just kind of play with the lines a little bit until you get the look that you want. Add, just add a little bit at first, and if you think more would help, add it. But just do it slowly. Bring his bottom lip out too. And the benefit of adding the thickness over top of the thin line, and part of the reason you start with the thin line, is you can change the shape if you don't like the way it's turned out. And I'm actually going to switch to the 0.2 again, so that I can not add so much thickness. So I want to change the shape of his lip. It's a little bit too feminine for me. So if I flatten it right there, it will get rid of that shape that I don't like. It also will make it look better. There, it's a little bit more natural. It's not so pointy and jagged. And then I'm going to just darken this a little bit and smooth out the contours. I don't want so many jagged lines and sharp points. You want to round that stuff off in most cases. And I'm going to stick with this one. This is actually pretty good for adding just slight thickness. I'm going to lift his hair off here, off of his head. And if there was light, there would be a shadow here anyway, which would help bring that hair off his face a little bit. And when you're dealing with lighting, I mean, that will really change the thickness. For instance, if the light was coming from the left over here, then this whole bold line, I could actually thicken that entirely. And then for the most part, anywhere on the interior where I would add thick lines, I would keep it on the right side of my object, and that would just help enforce that that sense of lighting, even if you're just penning it, and you're just working with black and white, but you don't want to cross-hatch it and add shading. The inking can really do a lot in terms of sense of light. I think I might just work that way a little bit. I'll just keep the light off to the left, but here in the ear you have all these squiggly lines, but they don't really tell you much because there's no shading. You don't know what's higher and what's lower. So adding the thickness of the line, you can create that depth, and I will show you how that works. See, just with that small addition, you can sense that this area is deeper in the ear. It's darker, so it sees less light. And here, I don't like this shape very much, so I'm just going to round it a little bit, and it will add a softer sense to the ear itself. Up here, we want to add some depth here because he's got hair underneath hair, and so we want that hair to be shaded just a little bit. And it will make his hair more dimensional. There, now his hair feels a little bit better. And over here, whereas some of this bold line, you can kind of sneak it in just a little bit. There, now you can really see the difference in his face and his hair just by adding a little bit more lines to it. I'm going to bring out his beard now, and since his beard is what I want to bring forward, I'm going to add the thickness on the outside of the line. Now you can really see his whole head has just transformed with just a few additions to the lines. Now his shirt's coming off here, it's folding over, so I'm going to just add a little bit. I'm not doing anything real careful, just kind of throw it on there and get it off. Let it stand out just a bit. Now, what we want to do with these folds is we want to go back to what is artistic line. Now, to clarify what the artistic line is. So, this is a line. An artistic line would be that same line, but contoured. And see, this line obviously looks a lot better than that line. And what we're going to do with the folds of his shirt, we're going to add these kind of artistic lines that go from thin to thick. And even with this line, it almost feels like the shirt, if this was a shirt, is like bunching up and there's like a wrinkle here or something like that. Where here, this line doesn't tell you anything. So here we have this wrinkle. We're just going to add just the slightest bit. And it kind of feels like you're doing nothing, but in the end, it really adds a lot. Going from thick to thin in this case. And you can see that that fold, it feels more like a fold. I don't know if it does to you, but it does to me, and that's what matters. It's my drawing, I'll do what I want. That's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot left to talk about in terms of drawing good lines and getting what you want out of the penning. Just, I suppose the whole key is add the thickness where you want, and think about what you want to do with the line. Why are you thickening it? Like, for instance, why did I thicken his beard? Because I wanted his beard to come forward. Why did I thicken underneath his nose? Because I wanted it to stick out. I wanted it to look three-dimensional. It's the optical illusion of adding the thickness to the line as it creates this illusion of depth. Now, see, here's a good example of something. So I have this squiggly line, and it's just a line. It's not an artistic line. It's hard to tell which part of the clothing is higher. Is this part of the clothing higher, or this part of the clothing higher? When I drew this as this part is higher, believe it or not. It's hard to tell which is higher from this, this, and this. But when I add the thickness to this line on the right side, and especially in this corner, this little curve here, it will make all the difference. So just watch the difference. I even add it. Look how much I added right there. I'm going crazy now. There. Now it already looks as though this is deeper than this right here. And I can enforce that even more by adding a little bit of thickness here. And a little bit here. It's very easy to get caught up with thickening all these lines and forget that you need to stop drawing and look back and make sure that you're not adding too much. In this case, I think I've done pretty good. Alright, so from here I think I've given many of you plenty of direction if you plan on trying this technique yourself, which I highly encourage you to do to any of your pencil drawings. If you have any questions, be sure just to ask in the comments or on my Facebook page. That's it for now. See you next time.